Welcome to the Rotary Times, a public service program presented by Rotary District 7610, Virginia. On our programs, we talk with Rotarians and community leaders and discuss how Rotary International builds partnerships to support local, national, and world communities. I'm your host, Rotarian Dr. Deborah Jackson from the Rotary Club of McLean, Virginia. Learning never stops in Rotary. Chesapeake Pets includes 4 Rotary districts, 7600, 7610, 7620, and 7630. They meet annually in March to provide leadership development for Rotarians aspiring to become district leaders, including club presidents, assistant governors, district governor-elects and nominees, and district governors. Joining me remotely is Rotarian Dr. Mamie Parker, who recently completed her required attendance at CPETS. Dr. Parker is the incoming president of Rotary Club of Dunloring, Merrittfield, Virginia for the 2023-24 Rotary year. Welcome, President Dr. Mamie Parker, to the Rotary Times Show.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jackson. And first of all, I want to thank you for this invitation. And I'll also celebrate your leadership and being a great role model for people like me.
Oh, absolutely. It's my pleasure to do this and be able to share many of the outstanding things that Rotarians are doing, especially for strong women, and also in the month of March when we celebrate Women's History Month. So it's all good. May I call you Mamie? Because I know we do know each other. Thank you.
Absolutely. We've known each other for years, and that's just fine. Just to make it a conversation.
There you go. Thank you. I'd like to start off by telling our audience a little bit of background about our guests. So let's start. Where are you from, your education, your career? Talk to us about that.
Yes, so I grew up in rural Arkansas on the Louisiana border. Mississippi Delta, one of the poorest regions in this country, but a region that's rich in natural resources. And my mother was an avid angler, so she took me fishing with her at a young age, and then she died 2 weeks before I graduated. And it was in her honor, and also hearing Marvin Gaye's song, and you probably remember this, Dr. Jackson, Mercy, Mercy Me. I was inspired to really study the environment and natural resources. So I went on to a career at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service as a marine and wildlife biologist. And from there, got my degrees in the University of Wisconsin and University of Arkansas, and moved to various parts of the country, serving the federal government. And now I do a lot of work in the not-for-profit world related to natural resources, saving our planet to save ourselves.
Absolutely, and that's one of Rotary's newest tenets is the environment. So, how well are they positioned to have you in the midst of RI? So thank you for what you do. So how did you get involved in Rotary, and how did you get involved with the Rotary Club of Dunloring, Merrittfield?
Yes, so as I said, my mother inspired me and really instilled in me, and I believe that Rotary is a lot in alignment with the way I grew up, and understanding that whether I was in church or in school or at home, service above self. And so I moved up into the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service from a biologist to a senior executive, and was in Massachusetts at the time, and was appointed as a regional director of the 13 northeastern states in the United States as a senior executive service individual. And I got a call from a local Rotary chapter in Amherst, Massachusetts, and they were asking me to come over and tell my life story, because you don't see a lot of Black and brown girls like me that are in this field, and they just wanted to hear the story. And once I got there and really had a better understanding of what they were and who they were, it was something that made me want to do more and be more. And so I joined that club, the Rotary Club of Amherst, about 25 years ago.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so from there, I moved here to the Northern Virginia area, like 2007, 8, 2008. And I was doing some tutoring at Pemmon Hills, and it's an alternative school here in
Mm-hmm.
the area. And I was tutoring for math and science, and there was a Rotarian in the building giving a scholarship. And so I was looking for a club and happened to have the opportunity to talk to someone at Dunlaurin Merrifield and join that club about 2008.
Wow, that's a great story. In fact, we say Rotarians all have a story, it just needs to be told. So thank you for sharing that one. Tell us about your club. When do they meet? What's your membership like?
Yeah, so our club is less than 25 members, so we are not a large club, but we're a mighty club.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we raised over $200,000 for scholarships that we've awarded over the years. We meet on Friday afternoons at 12:30 at the Marriott in Tyson's Corner. And again, we don't meet every week now. We changed it, so we meet the first Friday, and then the second Friday we go to a happy hour in the Dunlawry Merrifield
Yeah.
area. So we're always looking for people that want to come out and socialize with us there. We look for an opportunity for new members, potential members, as well as our club members to come out and interact with us. And then the following Friday, the third Friday, we have a meeting where we have our speaker and we spend time together as a club.
Wonderful. Yeah, we know Rotary is about fellowship, so those happy hours are important to all of us.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now let's talk about your CPETS experience. Okay, what were your thoughts when you were told that it was required that you attend CPETS in order to serve your club as president? Describe what went through your head?
So should I follow the four-way test, Dr.
Yeah.
Jackson?
Yes, please.
And be truthful about the fact that I do public speaking throughout the country, and I was just going to be coming back from a speech in Tampa, Florida, and knew I had to get to Pets, and it was really somewhat apprehensive with my busy schedule, a weekend that I really could use at home. So when I got there, I was surprisingly really, really appreciative of what I learned and what I felt. It was an excellent opportunity to stop, to think, to plan, to network, and be inspired to do more and be more. Wonderful
Wonderful.
experience.
Great to hear. Great to hear. Can you tell us about your leadership experience and how it has prepared you for the president-elect program for CPETS? How did you find that you walked in ready, or were there things that had to be done to get you ready for that experience?
Certainly things I needed to have to get done to be ready for it. Almost 15 years ago, my husband joined Rotary, and then several months later, he was diagnosed with terminal cancer and stomach cancer. And his last wish that it was going to be Christmas dinners every day in our home. He was going to die within months, and my fellow Rotarians were there, and they visited, and they came over, and they were pallbearers at his funeral because he eventually passed away. But I never stepped up to leadership in Rotary because I was in leadership, as you can imagine, in the sorority and in the Links Incorporated and board chair of several other organizations. So it was kind of difficult for me to make that plunge. But, now that I went to CPETS and had my club members encourage me, decided that it was the thing to do. They reminded me that I'd been appointed by two governors to serve as a commissioner for the Department of Wildlife Resources and eventually chair that board, which is really again, Women's History Month, that was a moment for that board to do that. But I lived in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Missouri, Massachusetts, and Washington, D.C. And what I learned about leadership, and I'll close with this, is that um, I love the blues, the music. I also love country and Western music. And there's a song that says, "Life is a dance. You learn as you go.
Yeah.
Sometimes you lead, and sometimes you follow." And so I have been following quite a bit and just realized it's time to step up to leadership and help, to help out and do my share.
Yeah. If you had to define leadership for our audience, how would you define it, and what qualities do you think are essential for club leaders to possess?
So when I define leadership, I start with listening and learning, growing, and inspiring. Leadership doesn't mean doing all the work ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's about inspiring others to help make an organization successful. Leadership is all about evaluating, and that's one thing I've learned in CPETs, that is so important to evaluate what we're doing, our performances. And so I think it's important for us to do that as well. And leadership is having that vision to think ahead, to plan ahead, and to make sure that we're bringing everybody along. So leadership is about being inclusive. It's about having some great facilitating skills to communicate, and to have others to sit down with you and help you plan events and activities and long range goals and strategic
Mm-hmm.
strategies that you want to carry through. So that's what I see leadership being. One of the top things is all about communicating, though. It's all about being able to communicate that shared vision, and also communicate when you've had success. I'm looking forward to our club being a little bit more active in the social media side of things, because we have to look for ways to really retain and recruit our members. And part of that is looking at this new generation, and they spend a lot of time in social media. So, how do we encourage them to come and serve with us?
Yeah. And we're going to dig a little bit deeper, but we're going to take a short break right now and be right back and talk more with incoming president, Dr. Mamie Parker, and hear more about what CPETS was like and how it prepared her for her new role. Please stay with us.
We've been here before, fighting the problems that fight back, because we see opportunities where others see obstacles. We're change makers and problem solvers, uniting over 1 million minds to address complex issues facing communities around the world, including yours. We're working together as partners and professionals, while making friendships that last a lifetime. We're Rotary, and there's no limit to what we can do.
Welcome back to the Rotary Times. We're here talking with Rotarian Dr. Mamie Parker, the incoming president of the Rotary Club of Dunn-Loring, Merrittfield, Virginia, for the 2023-24 Rotary year. She's sharing her experience with leadership development in Rotary. So Dr. Parker, or Mamie, as I said, we do know each other.
Absolutely.
Let's reflect a minute. Can you describe a time when you had a difficult decision as a leader, and how did you approach the situation?
Well, yes, I can. I had the privilege of supervising at some point in time 2,000 to 9,000 employees. And you can imagine in a world of multi-generational individuals, we have, just like we do in Rotary, we have 5 generations of individuals in our workplace and in Rotary at this time. And so as the chair of our community service committee, as the head of fisheries in this country, serving 3 presidential appointees. You can imagine that was sometimes difficult, Dr. Jackson. For example, I have to match people with their talent. I believe that's what Dr. Covey says when he talks about to be an effective leader, you have to match people with their talents. And so that sometimes means that we have to move people out of positions that have been in there for years and years and years. Uh, and so I've had to experience that. I've had 11 jobs at U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and now as a board chair at many organizations, including the Nature Conservancy, the National Wildlife Federation, among others. And moving people and matching them with their talent, they don't always want to come along. And so you have to find ways in which to encourage them to do that and let them know that their talents are still needed, because institutional knowledge is very powerful. Opportunities to mentor others is really important too. But I've had situations more than once where it wasn't a positive experience for some, and so then I had to make that difficult decision of whether or not they get to stay or I get to move on, depending on the situation. So I can't think of one in particular. I'm just saying in general, these things have happened in my leadership roles over time.
And what you've described are many of the same kinds of situations that happen in many of our clubs. So citing James Covey obviously is a winner there, as we look back and look at a lot of his principles that he talks about in terms of leadership. So that's wonderful to hear how you describe it, because oftentimes we think that just happens in the business sector or on the job, but it does happen in our clubs as we continue to manage some of those.
Yeah, and that's why you have to think too. It's complex, it's a tough call, but you have to match them with their talents. If they're better in membership versus service, let's find ways to put them there, but do it in a way where they can see it's a win-win and look beyond the moment. And another thing too, with difficult decisions, we have to separate our heart from our head, right? Because a lot of times if we're dealing with our emotional, situations, it can get unclear. But our head, the two together will help us make some right decisions where we can handle those tough calls.
And those are the people we always ask, those individuals who want to connect the heart and the head, because those are the people that serve Rotary. And that is so true. So it's good to hear that. Go back to the President-elect's program, because I'm just so excited about CPETs and the role that is played in developing our leaders for the future. Is there one particular skill that you walked away with, or knowledge that you walked away that you said, you know what, I want to make sure I do this during my club year?
Absolutely. I was just so inspired by, like you said, the district governors, those that were in charge, the assistant governors and the trainers, those facilitators. They were just dynamic. Just learning how to facilitate a meeting and be inclusive, and learn how to look at your objectives, and at the end of the meeting, make sure you do that. I feel like our club could use a little help when it comes to our meeting management. Learn some great tips about celebrating birthdays and anniversaries. I learned a lot about making sure that we remind people of our goals and our objectives. Reminded too that we need to convene our leaders together on a routine basis to make sure that we are following our strategic planning process and our plans itself. All of those things were very, very helpful to me. And of course, they gave us a lot of great icebreakers and ways in which we could engage members and keep them coming back. Absolutely. It was really great. To meet people from Delaware and meet people from other states, I thought that was really, really valuable for me as well.
Yeah, and the whole idea there, the aim was to build relationships across districts, and in this case, as you just pointed out, across state lines, because we had Delaware represented, Maryland represented, the District of Columbia, and of course, Virginia. It was an amazing experience. Disagreements. You talked about the team element or the board, however you want to define it. What strategies have you found to be effective in resolving issues that often arise with boards, working on a board?
Yeah. And you know what? I tell you, and I'm not just saying this, but we've been pretty fortunate at Dunlore and Merrifield in our Rotary Club where we seldom have a lot of disagreements and where we're not thinking along the same line. But what I realized was most effective is to look for peaceful solutions and find that win-win. And where we can look for opportunities to really again listening. You heard seek first to understand, then to be understood. Seeing those types of difficult situations addressed. One of our challenges, again with multi-generational individuals in our chapter, is finances. And usually when you think about disagreements in groups like this, it's either going to be centered around resources, some financial situations or some actions or whether or not you do service projects or whatever. But you talking it out is very, very important to do, right? To talk that over with each other, to understand both sides of the story, to find that common shared vision. So where do we agree first before we start talking about where we disagree? Where do we agree first? And then see if we can get to compromising and collaboration. And then hopefully at the end of the day, when a decision is made, that we can move forward and think alike. There's a songwriter that says, I need you, you need me, I need you to survive.
Yeah.
And so trying really hard when you get conflict is to go in that room thinking about the fact that in Rotary, we need as many people as we can, all hands on deck. Absolutely. To get the work done.
And I agree with you, here. Let's go one step further. Talk about a successful project, because you're right. Collaboration, we need as many Rotarians and hands on deck to ensure that we are doing all the things that we want to do in our communities. Can you talk about a successful project that you've led since your time in Rotary and what factors contributed to its success?
Yes, so I'm so excited about, and speaking of collaboration, because this was one that we did. It was a collaborative project with two other organizations that I'm a part of, and that's the Links Incorporated, as well as my church. And I don't know if I should say our church. And in that setting, we were really trying to think of ways in which we could help the seniors at the church. And they said that they had a garden there, and the gentleman that had planted the garden in the past, he was suffering and from cancer, and was not going to be able to take the garden to the next step. And so we thought would be an opportunity to build a Serenity pollinator garden with a nice bench there, a nice opportunity for the seniors to come out and look at the garden. And so our Rotarians got together and we helped the Links by the plants, but mostly the manual labor is what we needed the guys in our club to do. And they seem to like projects like that. They want that hands-on experience so they can bond and work together. So the garden is something that was really successful to the point that we're getting ready to build a second one at iLift Rehab Nursing Facility. And this is a place where we have orphans there, young orphans that are there. And we've gone there to celebrate birthdays in the past. But we're going to build them a Serenity Butterfly Garden. And here we don't just talk about the butterflies and there for people to have a peaceful moment, but it gives us a chance to talk about the environment. And as I said earlier, with the environment, if we save the planet, we'll save ourselves. And so without pollinators, we're not going to be able to do that, because every 1 in 3 bite that we take is because of a pollinator. That we're able to eat fresh strawberries and watermelon and all those things that we love to eat. it's because of pollinators, butterflies, and others. And so this garden has twofold opportunities for us to support our community, which is what Rotarians try to do. We found the need, because that's important, in our community. We need to find out what our community needs. And so we fill that gap
Well,
with this
thank
garden.
you. Dr. Parker, I want to thank you for an awesome visit today to learn about your club and the kinds of things you're doing, and also to hear your vision for moving forward. We know that it's often challenging for our new presidents to come in, but I think sounds like you had a great CPETS experience, so you are ready, and I would imagine that you would recommend CPETS to any other incoming president to get themselves prepared for the role. So thank you so much for joining us today. Hope you'll come back when you get into the role of the presidency and share more about what you're doing. I'd love to hear more about the pollinators, because you've taught us something about that today as well. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jackson. I appreciate this opportunity. And yes, CPETS, it rocked.
All right, great.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Funding for this program is made possible by the generosity of past District Governor William Glenn Yarborough of Rotary District 7610, Virginia. For the Rotary Times program, I am your host, Rotarian Dr. Deborah Jackson from the Rotary Club of McLean, Virginia. You are welcome to join us at a Rotary Club in your area for either breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or service project. You can find a club near you by looking us up on the internet. Many clubs are hosting meetings in person, virtually, or in some hybrid format. You only need to look us up for details. Remember, our time is your time, and it's always time well spent. Please join us for our next program as we continue to celebrate Rotary's 117 years of service above self.